Blessings everyone, this is Chris Kendall from therawadvantage.com, registered holistic nutritionist, raw food lifestyle coach, and raw chef. Today I'm gonna bring you the most Canadian kale chip recipe possible. Let's get into it.
Baby, I like it raw. Raw Advantage likes it raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Hey.
Alright everyone, so Canadian kale chips, what am I talking about? You might be like, I don't know what the most Canadian flavor could possibly be, but once you hear it, you will know, especially if you are Canadian.
Like me, eh?
I have some friends that are Canadian, and we're talking about chips. Is it sinking in yet? Plus, I'll let you guys know too that this is a no-fat kale chip recipe, which is pretty unusual. If you want, you can add a little bit to it, but it doesn't need it, and it's absolutely amazing as is. Really simple. One of my favorites. Alright, the suspense, it's enough. Oh my gosh, it's building. What is it? Ketchup kale chips. Now, I know if you're not Canadian, or if you don't have Canadian friends, that might sound a little bit weird, but talk to a Canadian. Look it up online. Ketchup chips, as in like potato chips, is one of the absolute most popular flavors in Canada, and it is amazing. It's crazy in other places that does not have it. It blows my mind. Was my all-time favorite chip by far, and I've never had a kale chip recipe for ketchup kale chips before, but this one is so simple and easy. I encourage you to try it out and let me know down below what you think, and maybe some other flavors that you want me to make for you. Now, you can use any type of green if you really want to, but curly kale, it holds the most sauce and creates much more volume and a much more satisfying, thicker crunch. So let's start with that. So this looks like a pretty big bunch of kale. This is about half a kilo or 500 grams. What we're gonna start by doing is just tearing off the leaves and putting the stem aside. We don't really want the stems as they get really chewy, so those can go aside. TV magic. Bing! There we go. So depending upon how stemmy your kale is, you might have around 350 to 400 grams of kale here. I'm just gonna give this a quick wash and then we're gonna get into the sauce. Now, a little tip here, the curly kale, it holds on to a lot of water, so I washed it up really good, and I'm just using my hands to tear some of the bigger pieces into smaller pieces, and every once in a while, I give the bowl a little bit of a tap, a shake, and then I pour out the excess water. You wanna make sure that it isn't watery when you start to put the sauce on it. I like medium-sized kale chips about like this. You can play around with different sizes to see what size you like best. Now let's get into the sauce. I like to use Roma tomatoes as they're a little bit more of a hearty, thick, rich tasting tomato. They don't have a lot of water content, so that means you need less sun-dried tomatoes. I'm using this beautiful new Raw Obsession knife here. Really stoked for my friend Victor. Really, really love them. Super crazy sharp. Check this out. Oh, wow. And we're just gonna add these right into the blender. There we go, that's how quick it is. Put them all in the blender. I'm gonna put in 50 grams of this red onion. I really love that flavor in a ketchup. If you wanna make it an even plainer ketchup, you don't need to add it. We got 1/2 of a lemon, about 50 grams, which makes about 2 tablespoons of juice. Classic ketchup has vinegar in it. This gives it that acidity and a little bit of that bite. Try not to let the seeds go in there. Now, ketchup is also sweet, so we have some dates here. Now, this is the most common variety out here in Sweden. They're just called dadler, and this is 10 dadler dates. And once I've pitted them, about 125 grams, that's about 5 or 6 average medjool dates. And lastly, I have 60 grams of sun-dried tomatoes. Now, an important note here, depending upon how dry your sun-dried tomatoes are and how juicy your tomatoes are, it's gonna depend how much you need. So you might wanna start with 1/2 or 3/4, blend it up and see. You want a nice thick sauce that doesn't just run off of the kale chip. So I'm pretty confident I'm gonna use the 60 grams here, but play with it. This recipe isn't static, no recipe static. Test it as you're going and make sure you get the texture and the taste you want for your flavors. I'm using this awesome BioChef carafe that fits the Vitamix, and it sucks all the air or as much of the air out as possible, which preserves the antioxidant levels when you blend it and creates a more rich, more colorful sauce. I got this out in Europe. I'll have some links below. I'm not an affiliate. I just absolutely love it. And if you're in the States, you can get it from my friend John Kohler. All links below, so check this out. There we go. Let's tap this off and let's blend it. There we go. So a little bit of a tip here, guys. Make sure you blend it really, really well. You don't want any chunks of the sun-dried tomatoes in there because then they can get really hard and chewy and it's not a nice texture for the kale chips. So we'll take the vacuum off. Oh yes. Oh wow. Look at that. That's just a basic ketchup recipe. Now, of course, like I said, you can change it up a little bit. You can add more lemon, you can add more date, you could use less of either. You don't have to use the onion. You could add garlic, or if you want to make this kind of like a barbecue, you could add some smoked paprika and more dates and a bit more onion and garlic. Lots of options, but this is a classic tomato. Let's just taste it. Oh yes. Oh yes. Straight up ketchup. Perfect. So all we're gonna do here is pour this over top of all the kale. It's a lot of sauce, I know. I want them saucy so that when they're dehydrated, they're super flavorful. I'm too lazy to get a spatula, too lazy for a spatula. Okay, I'm just gonna put my hand in there. I'm making these for me and Camilla. If you're making them for other people, maybe you wanna make sure you really wash your hands or you just use a spatula. Wow. Now you can use a little stir and start stirring this up. Or if you're a little bit more hands-on, you can just get dirty in there and use your hands. That way you can really get every single little crevice and nook in there. Oh gosh. Massage it right in there. Oh gosh, this was a mistake. This was definitely a mistake. What am I gonna do with my hands after this? Just use a spoon. Just use a spoon. Make sure you get every single chip coated. Oh. Taste it. Well. You essentially want a single layer of kale chips, otherwise they'll dry quick. Hydrator sheets, I'm going to use 2 for this amount of kale chips. If you want, you can more just so you know, this is spread them out across 3 on the dehydrator tray so that it doesn't drip all the way through. All right, there's number 1. These are going to be 2 full trays, I tell you. Now you're just left with these goopy hands you can lick off or wash off, and then pop these in the dehydrator. I'm using the trusty Excalibur dehydrator. And I'll put them in there from anywhere to 10 to 15 hours, depending upon how saucy and how thick of layers I have here. Halfway through, I like to spin them around to make sure that both ends are really nice and dry. And often, the last while, I'll sandwich it between 2 dehydrator trays, flip them over, and then take the Teflex sheet off just to make sure that every single crevice inside is nice and dry. Oh, there we go. What do you think, Leo, huh? Maybe it's not his flavor, but I tell you, you're gonna absolutely love these. And look at this, they're just like the perfect size. Oh gosh, should I give it a try? Should I give it a try? Seriously, so dang good, so crunchy, so flavorful, so savory. And just, just dehydrate them until they're totally dry. If you need to do it overnight, whatever, all good. But then all you gotta do, put them in a nice airtight container. If you're in a really humid spot, you're gonna wanna make sure it's airtight. If not, the desert, you're not gonna worry as much. Or you can just put them in a Ziploc bag. There we go. And there you have it. One of my absolute favorite varieties of kale chips, Canadian flavored kale chips, the ultimate Canadian kale chip. What do you think, Snooter? Huh? What do you think? Snooters aren't all about ketchup.
Don't worry, she'll catch up.
Oh Lord. But if you're new here, guys, make sure that you like, subscribe for more videos, and let me know below what you think of the video, what you want to see more of, and definitely check out the Rawesome Recipes playlist. And as always, wishing you much peace, love, and seasonal fruit. The ultimate Canadian kale chip. You gotta know it's ketchup. Ooh, don't forget to check out my Raw Recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free Raw Recipe app, available on iPhone and Android with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' Rawesome food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.